The Popol Vuh is a beautiful book about how the Maya conceived the creation of the universe.
The Popol Vuh, a centuries-old text sometimes known as the Mayan Bible, is getting a fresh treatment.
My name is Ilan Stavans. I am a professor at Amherst College, and I wrote a retelling of the Popol Vuh, the creation book of the Mayan people.
The new version of the Popol Vuh is illustrated by a Salvadoran folk artist named Gabriela Larios. The original version comes from the Mayan civilizations in what is now Central America.
It first started as an oral story. It went from generation to generation, being told by parents to children and so on. At some point, the Spaniards came and invaded the region where the Mayan people lived in Guatemala. And many of the Mayan people had to go in hiding, had to look for different strategies, different ways to defend themselves.
Paradoxically, one of those invaders helped preserve part of Mayan culture, writing down its oral history.
The priest that made the early translation and who was really very helpful in allowing the storytellers to bring this into written form was called Father Francisco Jimenez. He was a kind of visionary that realized this was a valuable storytelling that needed to go to the next generations. And he sat down, he made a version himself, he persuaded them to tell the story for themselves and write it down.
So what's in the Popol Vuh?
This is a book about how the universe was created. At the very beginning, we get a number of gods that are debating how to create a new world where they will have people that pray to them, that cherish them, that bow to them. And they decide that they're first going to try with the wood people only made of wood.
Perhaps reminiscent of the Ents from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Tree? I am no tree.
This group of gods decides to erase that first creation, and they come up with a second wave that is the corn people. The corn is a very important food ingredient in Guatemala, in the southern part of Mexico, and they don't have a mind, they don't have an imagination, and they are erased like the wood people were erased before. Finally, on the third try, there is a creation of humans, us. Because the Popol Vuh is a book of creation, and because it tells us how the universe was made from scratch, it is very easy to think of it as the Bible of the Mayan people. But things get actually more complicated. This is the story of how the gods have a kind of relationship with us humans and how humans start shaping up their view of family, of a friendship, of love, and start building a civilization up until they realize that there's different groups that are fighting with each other. The book itself is the story of the Quiche people that have to face other enemies. This was an incredible window to understand their life, their beliefs, their visions of the future, how they dreamed, how they related to God.
Mayan cultures were forever changed by European colonialism, but the Popol Vuh remains.
One of the great lessons of the Popol Vuh is really rather simple. It's a lesson of survival. It's the story of how a people managed to face all sorts of challenges and still remain together and fight for their endurance in spite of everything. Look, this is a civilization that came alive 700 years ago, 800 years ago, that has been suffering from colonization and wars and destruction, and still it's alive. It is still telling itself the stories of the Popol Vuh in oral ways, that is from generation to generation, and it still has this book that allows it to say, yes, here we are, here are our ancestors. In many ways, I think this book is kind of the memory of that people. Imagine taking the memory of an entire group of people and putting it in a book. Well, this is it. Here it is, how they understand their past. And in many ways, what they are doing with this book is depositing that memory on our lap, in front of our eyes. And one is really astonished by their endurance, by their desire to survive, by their need to keep loyal to their own language, to the way they see the world, in spite of everything that has come around them.
Stavans hopes his version of the Popol Vuh will bring this story of survival to new readers.
I wanted to serve as the bridge, as the medium, to allow a story from the region of the world where I come from to reach as wide an audience as possible.
This is Inside Edition Digital.